Welcome back to Wellness to Greatness. This is your host, Janelle. If you listened to part one of my conversation with Leann Herron, then you know we had a very honest conversation about the hidden burnout so many women silently carry, especially the women who are always functioning, always giving, and always holding everything together for everyone else. And in part one, we explored survival mode, chronic overfunctioning, emotional exhaustion. The list goes on, guys. People pleasing, perfectionism, and the pressure so many women feel to constantly keep going, even when they're completely depleted underneath the surface. And today, in part two, we're shifting into the healing side of the conversation because awareness is powerful, but eventually we also have to ask, what does it actually look like to reconnect with yourself after years of survival mode? So today, Leann and I talk about what resilience truly means: nervous system healing and regulation, rebuilding trust with yourself, and learning to slow down without guilt. The other important thing to factor too is the emotional awareness and self-compassion, and how women can begin creating lives that feel grounded instead of constantly overwhelming. Leann brings such a compassionate and relatable perspective to this conversation. I really appreciate her, especially when we talk about women who have spent years prioritizing everyone else while abandoning their own needs in the process. So this episode will benefit you if you're trying to heal from burnout, or you're feeling a constant sense of overwhelm, you're beginning your self-awareness journey, and you want to feel calmer and more emotionally present, or you're realizing that success without inner peace no longer feels sustainable. This conversation is gentle, validating, and full of reminders that healing doesn't happen through more pressure. It happens through safety, awareness, and learning to reconnect with yourself again. So let's dive into part two. So many women are high functioning on the outside, but internally they feel exhausted. They are disconnected, anxious, and stuck in survival mode. Today, we're talking about why that happens and why burnout isn't just about doing too much. So, for someone listening right now who feels stuck in the survival mode, where do they start in this process?
A lot of it goes into that reprogramming our beliefs and our thoughts and looking at those things and where do we get this? Where is this even coming from? So those were a lot of questions I started asking myself when I was kind of on this journey in my survival mode, was understanding where do these things come from. I found that trying to heal was not forcing myself to do more, to push through. It was looking at small steps to change that. So when we're overwhelmed, we're burned out, we're anxious, we're emotionally exhausted, the nervous system responds best to those small, consistent signs of safety.
Mm-hmm.
So I would start asking myself these questions like, am I really experiencing this? I think we talked earlier about the bear scenario. Like,
Mm-hmm.
is there really a bear chasing me? No. Is my ex-husband outside the door trying to get at me? No. I'm here. I'm in my safe space. I can practice some deep breathing. I can learn to listen to my system. But what the body needs are those small, consistent signs of safety. And it's trying to figure out like what our body is experiencing and what is it, what's it trying to tell us? And so learning how to ask those questions. And then as you start to do the work, you start to find those different modalities or skills or techniques that you can use to shift anxiety into calm. Or learning that anxiety takes about 90 seconds to peak. If you can just sit through that, invite it in, befriend it, and sit with it versus fear it or respond to it, it can really teach us a different way of being and responding versus reacting.
That's interesting what you just said, that anxiety has a 90-second response time, because I've found that mine can last longer if I'm in the habit of using substances to try to bring it down. And if I don't have, like, let's say alcohol or sugar or something to try to numb it, that it would just seem bigger than it needs to be, like a monster, right? But now I'm in a place where I don't use those to coping strategies. But that's very interesting. So I wonder on the average person, it's usually 90 seconds. But if, and that's with practice of using these tools. Is that correct?
I would say so, because if you think about it, your focus was on trying to find something to stop it, calm it down.
Yes.
It's almost like ruminating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you're in anxiety and you're ruminating about the what if, the what next, the what's happening, or if you're trying to calm yourself down, it's the switch between keeping it alive and getting it stronger and trying to distinguish it a little bit and calm it down. Mm-hmm. So I think it depends on the individual. Like, I've experienced panic attacks. And they're awful. They're frightening. They're scary. You think that you're having a heart attack and you're breathing either really fast or really shallow. But it's having those tools and having that awareness that isn't just a pill or a drink or smoking a joint that's going to numb it out, but it's actually finding positive ways to take control of that anxiety or panic.
Yes. So spill the tea, Leann. Share some practical nervous system tools, or like some daily practices that we could do that isn't like super time consuming, because we're just like really busy women here. Okay. We got kids and but we definitely want to change, but like, where do we start? So let's start with some maybe one or two some practical nervous system tools that you can think of that we could start implementing today to help us regulate, but also feel more clarity.
Absolutely. My first one is always something that we all possess, and that is our breath. We always have our breath with us, whether we're in the car and we're rushing from point A to point B to go pick up our kids, or we're at the grocery store and the kids are fighting in the background, or, switching roles from who we are at work to who we are at home. We possess this breath, this ability to calm just with taking a couple of deep breaths. So very simple, focusing your breath on, you could do box breathing. So like 4 counts in, hold for 4 counts. But the most powerful part of that is the exhale, and always making sure that exhale is just a little bit longer and the hold at the bottom is just a little bit longer. Yeah. And being able to repeat 2 or 3 cycles of box breathing, it is so powerful to how quickly that can shift our nervous system into calm and relax, because you're telling your body, no, I'm not running from a bear. I'm here. I'm breathing. I'm safe. Mm-hmm. And our body needs those signals, because otherwise it's always on. It's always hypervigilant and looking for the what next and the what might happen if. And so if we can learn to just be present and take a few deep breaths, I think that's probably my number one favorite go-to all the time.
I'm gonna intercept there. Mm-hmm. I love that. I actually use the box breath all the time. It's like my favorite things. But what is it about breath work that people are not talking about? Because I mean, I'm in the spaces of alternative health and personal development, and I hear this often. So when I hear it, I'm like, yeah, I've been there, done that. And I think some people are like, yeah, breath work, of course I breathe. But I don't think people know that they're not breathing, for one thing. The amount of people that I've had to correct them during a massage, take a deep breath, and they don't rise their stomach. Their cavity is forced elevation through the neck muscles in their chest. So there is a science here, but what are people not talking about breath work that you would like to add? Like, why is it so dang important?
God, it's so important for so many things.
I
We
know.
need that, the oxygen coming in, but I think what people don't realize, like you said, people think, well, I breathe all the time. I'm always breathing or I'd be dead. But how are you breathing?
Mhm.
Truly, like you said, how are you breathing? Are you breathing into your stomach? Are you breathing into your chest? Are you holding your breath? Are you taking short, shallow breaths? How are you breathing? Because I think it's that lack of awareness that we all possess. We're so focused on everything else that we're not focused on something as simple as how are we breathing. And I noticed for myself, even sitting watching TV with my husband, if I'm watching a movie that's high impact, high violence, high speed, high whatever, I have a bad tendency of making my hands into a fist.
Mm.
And I don't even realize that I'm doing it until I release my hands because something has now changed in what I'm watching. And my palms start to tingle because my fingernails have clawed into my skin. And I'm like, why was I even doing that? Because I wasn't paying attention to it. So there's so much power in the breath. There's power in how you can use it within your body that people, I think, if they don't know that they possess this power, then they don't know. So it's very much what we don't know.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And I was listening to there's a podcast on like polyvagal theory stuff. And one of the guest speakers was talking about how you can become a certain type of character, because she's an actress, just by using the breath. So you, for example, watching that movie, you're probably in that character's shoes and you feel their overwhelm, their anxiety, or their stress, or like the panic. And then you start breathing like them and your hands are in a fist, try to control the situation. And meanwhile, our body has no idea that we're just watching a movie. It thinks that we're living it. We're in that experience right this very moment. So if you're like, okay, guys, been there, done it. I already heard about all this breath work stuff. No, listen, lean in, lean in. This is the reason why we're talking about this, is because your body can be fooled based off what you are observing and feeling in your environment, even if it's a dang movie, and why your breath is out of place and why it doesn't feel like it's safe. And I'm not saying don't go watch like, Too Fast, Too Furious or whatever. I'm just saying that we need to be aware that we can also be replicating other people's patterns of behavior of breathing around us in stressful environments. And if you need to allow yourself to feel safe in this very moment, that might start with you just giving yourself some dang breaths, right? So, Leann, thank you for that. Is there another daily practice you like to share that you find really helpful for yourself and your clients?
There's a couple. I think one of my favorites is always grounding, just being able to step outside. This is also something I work with people who do experience a lot of anxiety, is getting outside of where you are currently sitting. So if you're sitting on your couch and you're anxious, get up and take a walk outside. Go for a short walk. Allow your other senses to become active. So looking at all the different colors, maybe focusing on, like I talked about earlier, all of the yellow flowers, or only seeing that yellow car. So these become ways that you teach yourself and your system how to refocus where you're putting your energy. So anxiety is the worry about the future. So what if, what's going to happen next? Depression is the focus on the past. And where you want to be is in the present. And if you're in the present, you don't necessarily experience those things as heightened, as if you're just sitting in one place and you're just like, I'm so anxious, I can't sleep, I can't think, I'm just, and you're trying to rationalize your way out of the box. You can't always talk your way out of the box. So go outside, ground in nature, sit on the concrete, sit in the grass, take a walk, or orienting in your space, putting your feet on the floor, feeling your butt in the chair, looking around the room, picking one thing to focus on that maybe brings you pleasure. So in my office, I am surrounded by all the things that bring me pleasure. I have art from all my favorite artists. I have tapestries that cover my window that when the sun shines through, it throws color on my walls. So I always put things around me that bring me joy, bring me happiness, bring me calm.
Mm.
So when I do feel those things, I can go to something very easily.
That makes you feel grounded, like you could be in this very moment. Mm. Yeah, I have a couple photos in my room too, and they're very generic. Like they're not anything in wow in particular, but they're just something about either the patterns of it, the colors, um, the textures of it. I don't know how to explain it, but it just makes me feel happy, you know?
And maybe it's a memory of where you got that piece from. My husband and I are very involved in our local artist community. So all of the art that is in our house was done by a local artist. And it's remembering where I was when we found that piece together, whether it was a pop-up event, wherever it was, and the conversation that I had with the artist about the piece. So sometimes it's just that simple. It's a memory, it's the color, it's the texture.
That is true because I have a couple wall tapestries that are really worn down and kind of like, okay, I probably should change that. But it's the memory, it's a sentimental value. Like one of them I got in Africa. Another one I was like a fabric that was painted on, but it was done by someone in an Aboriginal community in Australia. And then they explained to me the meaning of the picture and what it represented. And is it something that someone goes like, oh, wow, no, because it kind of looks like a child did it, but, but I just found it so beautiful, the story, and it's helping a community. So I agree with that. I think that's really beautiful. So what I hear you saying is breath work, being in nature, step outside, get some fresh air, get your feet dirty, get in there, roll like a pig in mud. Okay, I threw that in. You didn't say that. It was a secret desire of mine. When it pours rain, I literally just want to jump outside my birthday suit and roll in mud. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I love it. Maybe because I used to do that as a kid. My mom would just like, yeah, just go, and then I would have fun. And then the other thing too is surround yourself by beautiful things that can make you feel grounded and present in this very moment, feeling your butt in the chair, the breath that you're taking. That is all things that, guys, those are like free things, man. Like free, not just free things that we can literally start implementing today. And you have a lot of great tools and practices to help people in other ways. Can you briefly just comb through what that looks like? And also let us know where we can find you.
Absolutely. When I start working with a client, I always like to make sure that I'm meeting them where they're at. So it's taking a history, not in a way that like going to a therapist where you're going to unpack all your trauma, but in a way just to get a sense of, what have you tried that has worked for you in the past? What haven't you tried? Are you curious about trying something else to see if this might work for you? One of the reasons I created the podcast itself was to be a referral source for all of those alternative modalities that worked so well for me. So if I'm sitting across from a client who is maybe experiencing anxiety and they are a little curious about trying something else, and maybe we've talked about hypnotherapy, but they don't know what hypnotherapy is. They think it's hypnosis like you see on a TV show. And so I can introduce them in a way that they can absorb this information in their safe space at their own time and connect with watching a podcast episode. So one of the first people that I brought on my podcast was my hypnotherapist. I also brought on my artists. And I love for people to tell their story so that there's that one piece, there's that connection to their story, which can either be, yes, I resonate with this. Yes, this is exactly what I'm experiencing, or through empathy or sympathy or whatever that connection is. But then they can learn more about these different modalities that are available to them at their own time, in their own space, when they feel safe to learn more. And then if someone doesn't resonate with me, but they resonate with you, and we work with the same core demographic of women for the most part, I just want somebody to get the help that they need. So if they don't resonate with me, I don't have a problem with that. Let me connect you with somebody else that maybe you can resonate with, and they can spend 30 minutes watching a podcast episode and say, yes, this is the person I connect with. Oh my God, I didn't know about sound healing. Now I want to learn more about it. Where can I learn more about it? Oh, I
Yes.
also had my sound healer on my podcast, and she talks about how it helped her. So I think that for me, that's what I'm here to do is bring education, information uh, in a way that people can come to it on their own. It's not forced. So like we were talking about all these modalities, they're free. They're simple. You can do them anywhere. It's not, oh, you need to go and start taking aerobics classes, or you have to work out, or you have to eat strict. It's little things, one step at a time, that resonates with you, that's meant for you. Because a lot of people have no interest in meditation. They're like, oh, I can't do that. I didn't think I could either.
That's right.
I thought I had all those squirrels running around, how can I sit in silence? So it's bringing attention to things that are available, that when you're ready, they're there for you. But if you don't know about them, you don't know about them.
Yes. And just a touch on meditation, because I know you're a big fan of that. A good friend of mine who I took the yoga training program with years ago, 2012? No. Yeah, around there. Anyways, she said that the beginning, she did not do great with meditation. It might have been like 5 minutes at a time. And she's been practicing yoga for years. And it wasn't until like a few years ago where she really dedicated her time to get a little better, at it. And now she says she could sit for like half an hour. It took her a long time to get that point. But even someone she's a dancer, she's a lot of body awareness, she's very focused, she's also an incredible yoga teacher. Yet meditation wasn't her thing. But with intention and practice and being consistent, she started to feel and explore. When she decided to start exploring it, she felt more pleasure in the process. And she noticed over time that she felt more still and less anxiety and all the things, even though she was doing all the other things. So it's worth taking a look at. I know it's something that I'd like to work on more myself. Quite frankly, my idea of meditation is doing about 10 box breaths and doing some conscious journaling. And that feels good to me. And that's okay. And eventually it'll expand to something else. But right now, it's okay to start with baby steps. And it sounds like Leann could be the person for you to help you with that. And that's right. And one thing I want to add before we close this off is podcasts are about community, connecting with like-minded people and supporting each other. If we live in a world of scarcity, that what we have is not enough, or someone out there is better, or all that stuff, that where's the support? You're going to just keep yourself small and not explore opportunities to use your creativity and passions in places. And that is just it. Even though we have a very similar demographic, I would recommend someone to you for singing bowls, meditation, or going into really big transitions in your life, like empty nesters and retirement. That is not my forte. I can sympathize, but I haven't lived it. As for you, did. So anyways, thank you so much for being here. And one last thing, tell us where people can find you.
Absolutely. Probably the two main places are my website, which is findingresiliencewithleann.com. On there, it is loaded with everything from digital products that people can do at their own time when they're ready to do them. A lot of custom designed journals. I also I have the link for the podcast where people can go to my podcast page. They can see all my podcast guests, and they can pick their platform of choice by just one click on the button. So if it's Apple, or if it's YouTube or Spotify, they can just pick one button and go right to it. They're not having to hunt the internet for where they may be able to find me. My podcast is Happiness on Tap.
I love that name, by the way. It's so good. I want that
need
tap.
that tap on.
Yes.
We need that,
baby.
tap on.
Flood my house. Turn that tap on.
And so I have a lot of information for people to come to things in their own time.
Yes.
But also know that these are things that are available to them through my coaching practice. I coach one-on-one, pretty much all virtually, unless there's someone local. Then I can go and meet them at their house. We can go out for coffee. We can go and take a walk in nature. You don't have to be confined. And so I offer different coaching packages and programs. And the other place people can find me is either on the podcast or on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my only social media platform. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. But I am constantly posting information on LinkedIn and different tools that people can utilize and different summits I'm involved in. So there's always ways to find me.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here, Leann. I appreciate you. And I really enjoyed spending my time with you these last couple of chats. Like this has been really good. Thank you.
I have as well. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Leann, thank you again for such a meaningful and powerful conversation. I think what makes this discussion so impactful is that it gives women permission to stop believing they have to learn rest, safety, or worthiness through constant productivity and self-sacrifice. So many women have spent years surviving in environments that taught them to disconnect from themselves just to keep functioning. But healing asks something different from us. It asks us to slow down, to listen inward, to become aware of the patterns we normalized, and to begin creating safety within ourselves instead of constantly chasing it externally. And I think that's what this entire conversation has really been about. Not becoming a completely different person. Heck no. That's just overwhelming on its own. But reconnecting with the version of yourself that got buried underneath the survival mode. So if you've been listening and seeing yourself in this conversation, I hope this reminds you that healing doesn't have to happen perfectly and it doesn't happen overnight. Small awareness, small shifts, small moments of choosing yourself. That's where real transformation begins. And if this truly resonated with you and this sounded like you, check out in the show notes to learn more about new community I've created called Rise Above Burnout Community. This is for the high achieving career woman who is trying to run their household, their kids, their career, and they're overwhelmed. They are in survival mode to the point where they look high functioning, looks like they have everything together, but secretly inside, they are struggling and they desire just to feel grounded, emotionally present for their family, and reconnect with themselves and who they used to be without sacrificing their career and their family time. It's a space, a membership where people just like you can connect and learn how to manage the load with simple strategies that you can easily do on a 20-minute walk, folding laundry, or washing dishes. This is not meant to add another thing to your plate. This is meant to support you. If this sounds like you, check it out. Or you can go on Instagram at Wellness to Greatness and send me a private message with the word burnout, and I will connect you to more information. And yeah, I think this is going to be a beautiful thing. All right, guys. Well, I already know it's a beautiful thing, but I'm just saying. So thank you for listening today to Wellness to Greatness. And if these conversations resonate with you, please make sure to subscribe, follow, and share with someone that you know that may need to hear it. And I'll see you next week.